Hey, Carol, I hope that you find us over here. I just started the question before that I just said, oh my goodness, this has been such an extraordinary day already. Number one, I got to speak yesterday. Number two, I got invited back to speak again today. But in the meantime, this group was blowing up. So I had requested from the co-creators here to actually come in and kick off some videos, some replays. And then YouTube and Zoom and Facebook were not playing nice. So we are here just doing it old school with a live. So I'm waiting for Carol Pilkington to show up. That might be her now. Let me just see if I can connect with her. So it's actually not telling me who it is. Wow, that's weird. Everybody else, it's been showing me who it is, so maybe it's somebody that isn't my friend. I don't know. Carol, if it is you, let's message me on WhatsApp so that I know that it is you trying. But there we go, maybe. Why all of a sudden is it not showing me who it is? So you should be able to, without me seeing, I'm in the group. So you're in the group. Have you pulled down to make sure that you are seeing it as a refresh so that you're seeing the live screen? If you have, then I should be able to pull you up. Yeah, Carolyn, it's Carolyn that's on. That's why I can't pull her up, because she's on a computer. So it shows me that there's somebody viewing, but they're not. So I'm looking for Carol Pilkington. She has been told to be on her phone so that this works. It's the only way that it works. If you're on your phone, and then I either bring her to screen, or I can tap on the person and pull her up. This may not work. There we go, Carol, I see you. I'm requesting. You just have to say yes. Oh, and we'll just wait. And she's here.
Finally.
Finally, but we did it. So this is awesome. And what this does, everyone, is shows you that you can do it too. I really hope that everybody sees that, because one of the biggest fears that most people have is like, I can't go live. Something could go wrong and I'd look like a fool. Believe me, I'd have never done anything if I felt that way. So I thank you, Carol, for just playing along with me, because, you know, time is of the essence, and I needed to do this today as I had time. So we are here. We are ready to kickstart this beautiful interview off, and, you know, make a comment and let us know if you're live with us and where you're seeing us from, because that also helps with other people being able to see. So let's get started. Carol, thank you again for saying yes to the opportunity to co-create this experience with us. I mean, it means the world to me that I have cultivated such a beautiful community that when I asked if anybody wanted to create something like this, I had that many people raise their hand and say, I'm really interested. And then the people that applied, it just warms my heart, because I get to co-create with people that are ready and willing and don't know what it all entails, but they're definitely an in. And I heard that from you many times. So Carol, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and just let people know where you're coming in from and what you do.
Thank you, Debbie. I am, oh my gosh, I'm many things. I'm a metaphysical teacher. I am a certified senior advisor. I am a transpersonal astrologer, and I incorporate all of that into what I do to serve my clients, which is to help them to be more authentic or tap into their authenticity so that they can live more congruently inside and out. You know, we have this mask that we display to the public, and then on the inside, we may feel something totally different and feel like we are something totally different. And when we can live from that place inside on the external side as well and feel that sense of rootedness in who we are, we cannot be swayed or pulled from pillar to post like a tumbleweed rolling down the road.
I love that visual. Has anybody, hands in the air, has anybody ever felt that way as a tumbleweed tumbling down the road? Whichever way the wind blows you, you have no control over it. And what if you could meet somebody like Carol who actually would help you with that? That sounds amazing to me. And thank you for the visual.
You're welcome.
So, Carol, where are you in the world? Where are you calling in from?
I'm coming in from the Los Angeles area of California, Southern California, suburb of Los Angeles County.
Nice. So, Carol, let's go back a little bit to your life before these things. Like, for first of all, there was many modalities and many things in which you're passionate about, trained in, qualified, experienced in. But there was a Carol that did something else before she did this. So, can you tell us who that was?
Yeah, for 30 years, I was in the corporate world and I was a telecommunications administrator. I designed and built and installed telephone and voicemail systems. So you remember those call call trees when you call into some place, you're routed this way and every which way. Well, I actually built those so that people could get from point A to point D, if you will. And I also moved telephone systems from one place to another across the country within the company that I worked for. So it was very linear and very, logical.
Wow.
And so it was really a real switch for me to move out of that world and into my more creative spiritual side and thinking that it had to be one or the other.
Okay, I love this, where this is going. So this was the person that, and you had a great job and you were successful in it and you did all these things. What was that pivotal point that shifted you over to the other side?
I was feeling so stifled in my career that I wasn't feeding my soul. And something arose in me that created that moment that enabled me to leave. And that was a health crisis.
Okay.
And so when that happened, I went out on disability and I never looked back. And as my journey began to unfold, I realized that it couldn't have been any other way. We are always where we're supposed to be. And I had to go through that experience in the corporate world and everything else in order for me to be able to do what I'm doing now. I needed those linear logical skills because I needed to be grounded and feel grounded earthly in what I'm doing to help people get to where they're going and want to be. So it's really an interesting process when you realize that you're always where you're supposed to be and you couldn't have done anything else or you wouldn't have or you would have. I want to, you want to wish I should be, I should have,
Yeah.
or I could have. No, 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 no. You were right where you are when you needed to be there.
Oh, I love it. And you can see that I'm grinning ear to ear because it's so important for us to not only stay out of victim mode, but also the lack or the want. I wish I could have done it this way. I wish it would be this way. I want to create this. And yet it's all perfectly unfolding the way it's meant to. So did you understand that at the time? Or was this looking back? Yeah. Like, can you take us through that process of when you actually realized that?
When I got far enough along on my own journey to realize that I really did need those skills. I needed the skills to be able to build the relationships with different people and different personalities, and to have the methodology and step-by-step processes in place for me to even have a business.
Yeah, I hear you on that. Now let's go into your clients and who you serve today, because we already understand why you started serving them. So let's go into who they are. Like, explain to me so that anybody, me or anybody else that's listening, knows who to refer to you.
There are a lot of people that may have been experiencing the exact same thing that I was experiencing, that whatever they're doing, they're coming to a point, it's a crisis point, where whatever they're doing is not serving the internally. Like they've always concentrated on the external successes, the money, the wealth, the stature, the status, accolades and awards and all these other things, just to get to a point where they are feeling hollow and empty inside and not feeling fulfilled. And they're losing sleep over it. Their relationships are suffering. They might be resorting to unhealthy habits because they don't know how to get out of that knot of feeling guilty and shame even for feeling the way they do. They have responsibilities and obligations in their life. And so it's really tough. It's like they feel like they're between a rock and a hard place, and they're dying inside.
Yeah.
So there's grief, there's shame, there's guilt, there's all kinds of stuff going on. And all the while putting on a mask of, I'm fine.
Oof, oof, oof. Is anybody hearing this? You know that she's speaking right to you. And so I love that. Thank you for doing the work that you do. And thank you for going through what you went through so that you could make this choice and do this work. So I know that sometimes we can talk about this is where we were and this is where we are today. And it kind of can feel like, oh, that was easy. But let's be real, it wasn't easy. So what was an extraordinary move, something that you know was that pivotal point that you created so that you could be in this place serving the people you are today?
You know, like I was saying, everybody has a crisis point. Change doesn't happen when things are just humming along and everything's hunky-dory. There has to be an existential crisis that happens. And that is what happened for me. I could no longer go along just to go along. And it was devastating because I was making great money. And yet I wasn't feeling fulfilled, like I was saying before. And so when people are at that point, when they're at that existential crisis point, that's the moment that people are looking for guidance, assistance, help, whatever you want to call it. And so for me, I met someone that could take me to another level of my own journey. And he's a Jungian therapist. He is a metaphysical teacher. He taught me astrology from a metaphysical transpersonal perspective. And so I said, oh no, oh yes, oh no, oh yes, right? Like he came into my life at a moment that I was ready, and yet I was doubting myself as to whether I was ready, right? And I was, and that was a pivotal moment for me.
Wow, thank you for taking us through that. You know, we're here as co-creators in a visibility challenge where we're actually asking people to look at themselves and is there another level of visibility? Is there another level of showing up that you're being asked to do? And we're here supporting people as they do that. But you just took us down a journey where all the stars aligned for you to step into that next level of you, and there was doubt and there was fear, and without a mentor, I don't know where it would have gone. I mean, I believe it always comes full circle, but sometimes it's like knock on the door 5, 6 times before it actually happens. So thank you for taking us down that journey. What would you say to somebody, whether they're inside this group and they don't know what it's for, and they're not sure, like, because we've asked people if you have an extraordinary story or you're an extraordinary woman making extraordinary moves, to please type in the word interview so that we can gather them and get your story out too. But what about if somebody like either heard of this out in the wild, let's call it on YouTube, or somebody's talking about it at a party or whatever, or they stumbled in here and they're like, I don't even know what this is about. That, you notice that it sees my thumb. And you're speaking to them. How would you tell them that there's a benefit to being in here?
Well, first of all, they don't have to know all the answers right up front, right? It's okay to jump in and not know anything. And yet we're also afraid to do that. We're afraid of the unknown. And so it's really important to say yes if it's really speaking to you, and then ask questions. You know, that's what we're here for. We're here to sort things out with one another, support one another on our journeys. And visibility is not just about being seen, but it's also about being heard and understood. And it's so important that we include all three of those.
Yep.
And when we can open ourselves up to not knowing what we don't know and just allow ourselves to feel into something and then grow from there, it's a miraculous experience, actually. And so we're here to help one another be seen, be heard, and be understood. And from that place, we just want to be able to relate to one another and show others the same pathway forward for them.
Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. More of that, please. And so, was there a time that you felt unseen, unheard, and ununderstood? Yeah.
Yeah, many times. I grew up feeling that way. When I was a child, I was the youngest in the whole family, cousins and everything. We didn't even have cousins at the time. It was just my sister and I. And we would sit at the table, dining room table, and they would be talking, and I would want to chime in. And there was this one time where I did chime in, and I was saying all these things, and I thought I understood the conversation that was going on around me. And this roaring voice said, Carol, you are saying a lot of words, but you're not saying anything. I just shut down, shut up. I wanted to go and hide. That didn't mean that I was never supposed to say anything ever again, right? But that's the message that I got, that what I had to say was not important. And I really I didn't know that it wasn't okay to just be me. It wasn't. And so I was very, very, very quiet as a child, and growing up, I was very shy. I didn't talk. Even when I raised my hand, which was very hard to do in school, to answer a question or to go to the blackboard and do a problem, I was embarrassed by a teacher who compared me to my sister. And my mother wasn't having that. I found out years later that she went to the principal and complained, really really complained. Like she was like this lioness protecting her cub.
Another great visual. So, as we close this interview down, is there something that you would love to invite people into? A new concept, a new thought? Because you bring a lot of experience. Like when you listed off all of the things that you have training in or certifications in or whatever, it's like, wow. I feel like you're such an avid learner that you must always be exploring new things. So is there anything that you would love to invite anyone into?
I would like to say that when I discovered that the unknown was this vast pool of possibilities and probabilities that I could just playfully explore, it just changed the world for me. So I would invite people to allow themselves to be groundless, to live in the groundlessness of life, because that's where the juice is, that's where the fun is, and that's where we get to really learn and grow. And don't be afraid of what it looks like, and just play. Don't take yourself seriously, but it's okay to take life seriously. There's a big difference, right?
It is a big difference. Well, thank you so much. Where can people, take a class from you or connect with you or hire you? Where can they find you?
Well, they can find me on my website. They can find me on LinkedIn. I'm there all the time. I love LinkedIn. So if they go to Carol Pilkington, look for Carol Pilkington on LinkedIn, they'll find me there and they'll be able to see my newsletter, join my newsletter. And I'm also on YouTube.
Wow. Thank you for taking us down the journey of who you are, who you have become, and what transpired for all of that to happen. Because I believe in those stories, it's so much more than an offer that you've created. It's so much more than a course or a program or even a healing. It's like, this lady gets me. She totally understands me. She's gone through things herself, come out the other side. So she's totally earned the right to help me out.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. And I'm so excited to be part of this journey with you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll see you in a bit.